So in this video, we'll go down the list and actually break apart some of the different sakes and what you can expect to find in the flavors. Now, if you have a four top, there's literally 4 different sets of taste buds, and I guarantee they will all taste different things. In wine, there's a little more predictor in what you can expect to taste, mainly because everybody has the same kind of palate coming up and that background. With sake, it's very different, so it's kind of, your attention span's all over the place and you're pulling out different flavors. But there is a sort of vocabulary that you can use with the different sake to be able to find a common base or guide your guests when they're tasting. So we're actually going to start from the bottom of the list as it appears in the wine book. So we're going to start with the most expensive, the most pure or regarded. So sake has rice, water, yeast, and koji, that stuff that turns the rice grain into sugar. Just those 4 ingredients. Now that's called the Junmai style or pure. So that puts it, they all have the name Junmai in front of that type of sake. And all the different categories are based on those milling rates, right? So half of the rice grain left, half thrown away, 60% of the rice grain left, 40% thrown away, 70% left, and that has a little, kind of just a little sliver of skin of that brown rice on the outside, which makes it a little more earthen and robust. Now what you can do with sake is you can add brewer's distilled alcohol. This is not to fortify it. They take spirit or distilled alcohol, add water to it to become 17% alcohol, exactly the same ABV as what they're putting it into. But if you can imagine maybe like a little vat of molasses and you add water plus alcohol into that, it's gonna break up those jammy flavors. Or if they're really fruity, it's gonna kind of spread it out so that the flavor profile becomes almost like a Chopin, Belvedere, and soda. So not really alcohol based, that's not the point. It's to spread out those flavors so they're not so condensed. So the Dasai 50 Otterfest, it is a Daiginjo. It's actually a Junmai Daiginjo. So it's just those 4 flavors, or those 4 ingredients. And what happens is because that pure sugar and the pure alcohol, you actually get a kind of jamminess to it. Then with those, you get very floral sort of notes, flavors. The aroma is going to be kind of light and airy. So it's not going to be knock you over the head. It's going to be kind of fleet-footed. On the next style is Naruto Tai. That means drunken snapper. Japanese is very phonetic, so feel free, just say it 3 times. Naruto Tai, drunken snapper. Guests will know it as the one in the can. So it's a ginjo. So it has brewer's distilled alcohol added to it. So it's a little dry, but it's what's called the Genshu style. It's unique in its own in that it's condensed flavor. So there's no water added to the sake like all of the other sakes have. So it's actually, if you notice on the list, it's going to be about 18% alcohol. The next one on the list is the Dewazakura Dewa Sansan. So that's a mouthful, you can make a joke out of it. It is a Junmai Ginjo. It only has those 4 ingredients. So you'll notice right off the bat, just smelling it, you don't have to taste it. You can smell crisp, green Granny Smith apple. So because we didn't add brewer's distilled alcohol to it, it will have that kind of ginjo-ka. It's a term meaning that which is ginjo. And you can, when you smell it, you will know that that's exactly what ginjo-ka is. So it's rice, water, yeast, and koji, K-O-J-I. The next we have is called Wakatake Onokuroshi. Demon Slayer is the nickname of this one. It drinks kind of dry. So it is it's a Hanjozo, Tokubetsu Hanjozo. So this is the 70%, but because something's not pure, it's interesting. You take away the Junmai or the pureness of it because you're adding something to it, right? It's kind of backwards in theory, but you can't take away Junmai. So they developed this other word, Hanjozo. So they've added distilled spirit, so it's not so rustic and jammy. You'll taste some sakes that are like, ooh, that has like mushroom in it. It's not for the faint of heart, and usually only Japanese during dinner. It's the beverage of choice. But Honjozo can actually taste kind of like like that vodka soda drink. So a lot of your guests may be into that. It's a little rough around the edges. It has a nice bite to it, and it has a medley of different flavors. But because we're starting off with a Junmai and then adding alcohol, the flavors in this Honjozo, the Demon Slayer, will be kind of earthen, a little more rustic. Imagine molasses versus refined white sugar. They're both sugars, but one has more earthen qualities to it. So that's the Demon Slayer. Gentlemen will really enjoy that. It, kind of has a little more backing to it, so to speak. And the second to last is, it is a Honjozo, but they're not adding as much. So technically, I think of it almost like a Junmai. Actually, I think it's a Tokubetsu Honjozo, but this one has kind of that jamminess to it. It has all of those qualities, like nutmeg is kind of in there. If people like Pinot Noir, or this one you could actually enjoy with grilled meats. Cool backstory is that these sakes often come out of places that are isolated from the coast, so they don't have a lot of seafood. But they do have ramen, they have tonkatsu, which is like that pork belly. They have all these really heavy dishes, and they drink a heavy sake. That's the local style. On the coast, you have more daiginjos. Junmai is for a little more steak, a little more grilled chicken, or something that might be smoked. The final one is the Nagori style. So I wouldn't worry so much about if it's a Junmai, 70%, if it's a Junmai Ginjo or Ginjo, which is even more, 60%, or even if it was, they make a Nagori style that's Daiginjo. But what's important is that it has that cloudiness to it. So it's gonna have a unique characteristic all on its own. So it's actually a Junmai Ginjo, but they don't completely strain out all of the rice particles. And newcomers to sake really enjoy this. This may be the one that they've had and know by name. It's kind of training wheels, so it's good to start out. It's not going to be really sharp. It's going to be kind of creamy. There's one called Crazy Milk that I've had in the past because it has that coconut milk or almond milk quality. It's very supportive and still has those flavors, but when you go into the filtered sakes, which almost all are, you're gonna have those bright, expressive flavors. You're gonna have intensity and a lot of nose or aroma that you kind of lose out with the Nagori, but it's great because it's soft and inviting for the introductory sake drinkers. So I hope this gave you a little information. Always ask the bartenders and feel free to pour sample. So it's really hard for guests. You're gonna get the most information with your taste buds. You as salespeople can really help them inform and link them up with what they might enjoy. But always feel free to bring out one or two samples to do a little comparison.